Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share a story that's more than just inspiring. It's a powerful reminder that love and strength come in forms we don't always expect. This is the journey of Jamal, a black man who faced a life-altering injury and a rare condition that changed everything. But what happened next? How did love find a way to not only survive, but thrive in the face of pain? Stick around, because this story will challenge what you think about courage, relationships, and what it really means to stand tall. Jamal Carter wasn't born into ease. Growing up in the south side of Atlanta, he learned early that dreams didn't come free. You had to wrench them out of the mud with bare hands. By the time he was 30, Jamal had done just that. He ran a small auto shop with two loyal friends, had his own apartment, and had just finished fixing up a classic '68 Impala with his signature deep blue paint job. Life wasn't perfect, but it was finally his. Then came that night. It was supposed to be a quick ride home. Just Jamal, his bike, and the wind. The streets were quiet until they weren't. A speeding SUV ran a red light, striking him from the side. The metal twisted, the world flipped, and in a matter of seconds, Jamal's life was shattered like the headlight glass skidding across asphalt. He survived, but something had changed. His right leg was crushed. Multiple surgeries followed. What doctors initially called nerve pain refused to go away, only growing more intense, more cruel. Eventually, the diagnosis landed: complex regional pain syndrome, or CRPS, one of the most painful conditions known to medicine. Within months, even light touches felt like fire. His leg, once the tool of his trade and freedom, became a prison of agony. But the twist? That wasn't the worst part. Doctors tried everything: meds, therapy, experimental procedures. But the leg continued to deteriorate. It was no longer about saving it was about saving Jamal from it. At age 31, he signed the paperwork to have his right leg amputated above the knee. Alone in the hospital room, staring at the bandaged stump, he whispered what he didn't want anyone else to hear: who's gonna love a man with half a body? The fall was complete. Physically, emotionally, even spiritually, Jamal hit bottom. The man who once lifted engines with ease now struggled to lift his own head. The city outside kept moving, but for Jamal, time froze. But here's the thing about rock bottom. It's solid, and sometimes it's the best foundation to start climbing again. In the months that followed, Jamal wrestled with his identity. Was he still a man without the leg? Could he still fix cars? Could he still be wanted? Too often, people associate strength with what you can physically do. But Jamal was learning that real strength is what you can survive. And as he slowly rolled back into the shop on a second-hand wheelchair, something shifted. The customers came back. His boys saved his tools. And Jamal began to realize he hadn't lost everything, just a piece. And that piece didn't define him. What he didn't know, though, was that fate wasn't done twisting his story yet. Because one ordinary Tuesday afternoon, a woman would walk through the garage doors, asking for an oil change, and end up changing far more than that. It was a Tuesday, the kind of day that slips by unnoticed. Cloudy, quiet, routine. Jamal had just finished replacing a radiator in a 2010 Dodge Charger. His hands were greasy, his hoodie smelled like motor oil, and his wheelchair creaked with every turn. He didn't mind the silence anymore. In fact, he'd come to prefer it. Silence didn't pity him. Silence didn't ask how he was really doing. Then she walked in. Aaliyah Monroe, mid-30s, confident, sharp eyes, red braids pulled into a loose bun. She wore a navy blazer over a graphic t-shirt that read, "Black joy is revolutionary." She was juggling a phone call, a toddler's car seat in one hand, and a set of car keys in the other. Her old Altima sputtered into the lot, coughing like it had smoked 2 packs a day. "I think it's the transmission," she said, half laughing, half apologizing. "Or maybe just my luck." Jamal looked up, nodded. "Could be both." That was all. Short, safe. He didn't expect her to stay. Most customers dropped their keys and left, but she sat, waited, talked. That day, she told him about her job as a school counselor, her son, Micah, who loved dinosaurs, her ex, who left when the pregnancy got too real. She laughed freely, cursed gently, and kept looking Jamal in the eyes, not at his chair. It unsettled him. No one did that anymore. Not like this. Over the next few weeks, she kept coming back. Sometimes for her car, sometimes for her sisters, sometimes with just a sandwich for Jamal in case you forgot lunch. Each time, she asked about his day like it mattered, like he mattered. And for a man who'd once believed he was half a person, that felt dangerously close to resurrection. But Jamal resisted. Every time she got too close, he pulled back. "You're wasting your time," he told her once, sharper than he meant to. She didn't flinch. "I don't do charity, Jamal," she said. "And I'm not blind. I see you." He didn't know what scared him more, the idea that she was lying or the idea that she wasn't. Here's where the twist comes in. Jamal wasn't afraid of love. He was afraid of being seen. All his life, he had worn strength like armor, but after the accident, all he had left was vulnerability. And Aaliyah? She wasn't trying to fix him. She just sat with him in the mess. That's what made her different. We're taught to believe love starts with fireworks, grand gestures, and fairy tale timing, but sometimes love starts in a greasy garage, over small talk and engine smoke. Sometimes it doesn't burst into your life. It gently rolls in, like hope on a tired wheel. Aaliyah didn't love him despite the chair. She loved him through it. She saw the stubborn kindness, the quiet resilience, the sarcastic jokes he slipped between oil changes. She saw him, and slowly, something impossible began to happen. Jamal started to believe he might still be worth loving. But even as the warmth between them grew, a storm brewed under the surface, silent, heavy, and hidden, because Jamal had a secret, a decision he had made, alone, in the stillness of the night, a plan that would change everything. And Aaliyah had no idea what was coming. Falling in love isn't always a loud thing. Sometimes it's quiet. Like the way Aaliyah started showing up at Jamal's shop, even when her car was fine. Or how Jamal made sure there was always her favorite peach tea in the mini fridge, even though he never drank it. The two of them started dancing around something bigger than friendship, but neither dared name it out loud. To the world, Jamal looked like he was healing. He was smiling more, taking on more clients at the shop, even laughing again. But inside was a different story. Because for every step forward, there was a voice whispering he didn't deserve this, that he was broken, that Aaliyah deserved more. She didn't see him struggling with his prosthetic, late at night, sweating through phantom pain and frustration. She didn't see how he sometimes sat in the dark, staring at old photos of himself, standing tall, legs intact, wondering if the man in those pictures was truly gone forever. He never told her about the night he almost backed out of getting the leg amputated. The fear, the shame, the sense of loss that came long after the surgery when everyone expected him to be over it. Because that's the part no one talks about. Healing isn't a straight line. It's jagged, messy, and sometimes the hardest wounds to heal aren't the physical ones, but the ones you don't let anyone see. Aaliyah sensed it. She saw the way he tensed when people stared too long in public, the way he deflected compliments, the way he sometimes pulled away just when things felt too good. And one night, sitting on the hood of her car under a parking lot light, she finally asked, "Do you think you're hard to love?" Jamal didn't answer right away. He couldn't. Instead, he looked at his hands, callous and stained from years of labor, then down at his mechanical leg. And quietly he said, "Sometimes I think I'm just a detour in someone else's story, not the destination." That hit Aaliyah hard. She didn't try to fix it with cliches or comfort. She just took his hand and said, "Then let's make the detour worth taking," as the twist. Even when you're surrounded by love, it's possible to still feel unworthy of it. And that's the battle Jamal was fighting. Not for Aaliyah's love, but for the belief that he deserved it. That internal war bled into their relationship. On the outside, things looked sweet, but inside, Jamal was quietly planning something, a way to prove, once and for all, that he wasn't a burden, that he was still capable of something powerful. What Aaliyah didn't know, what he never told her, was that Jamal had started physical therapy again, not just to walk, but to stand beside her. For real. No wheelchair. No pity. His pride wouldn't let him tell her. He wanted it to be a surprise, a gift. But secrets, even well-intentioned ones, carry weight. And Jamal was carrying more than just metal and scars. He was carrying a silent fear that if he couldn't pull it off, he'd prove himself exactly what he feared most. Less than whole. But love, real love, doesn't demand perfection. It just asks for honesty. And Jamal was about to learn that sometimes the strongest move is simply letting someone see your weakness. Most people train for a wedding by picking out suits, writing vows, or learning a slow dance. But Jamal trained for something else. 3 months before the ceremony, he made a promise to himself. No, he made a vow. On their wedding day, when the preacher said, "Please rise," he wouldn't be the exception. He wouldn't stay in that chair. He would stand, even if it was just for a few seconds, even if it broke him. But here's what most folks didn't know. Standing up again wasn't just about muscles or balance. It was about reclaiming dignity. He didn't tell Aaliyah. She thought his weekly car conventions were about networking. In reality, Jamal was spending 3 mornings a week at a rundown physical therapy center on the South Side, working with a tough ex-Marine named Tasha, who didn't believe in baby steps or pity parties. "You want to stand?" she barked the first day, "then get ready to fall." A lot. And fall he did. The first time they strapped him into the prosthetic and asked him to shift weight onto it, he screamed. Not from the physical pain, that he was used to, but from the rage. Rage at his body, rage at how everything he used to do without thinking now required sweat, planning, and humility. And worse, the doubt. Every time he hit the mat, every time his leg buckled, the voice came back. That cruel, quiet voice. "You're setting her up for disappointment. Just stay in the chair. It's easier, it's safer." But Jamal didn't want easy. He wanted honest. He wanted whole. So he pushed harder. He trained in silence, his body sore and shaking, keeping Aaliyah in the dark the entire time. He watched her pick out invitations, choose centerpieces, and smile with that easy faith in the future. She had no idea her fiancé was crawling on parallel bars every morning before work, swallowing his pride with every failed attempt. And then came the twist. 2 weeks before the wedding, during a grueling session, Jamal fell badly, harder than usual. Something popped in his lower back, and the room spun. For a moment he blacked out. When he came to, Tasha was hovering over him, eyes narrowed. "That's it," she said. "You try that again before your body's ready, You won't walk at the wedding. You'll be back in surgery." It was the first time Jamal considered giving up. He sat alone in his truck for over an hour afterward, gripping the steering wheel, whispering to himself, "What if I fail? What if I fall in front of her?" But then he remembered something Aaliyah had once said during one of their late-night talks. "You don't have to impress me, Jamal. Just be in it with me. That's all I need." That line hit different now, because the truth was, this wasn't just about standing for her. It was about standing for himself, proving that even if life knocks you down, you can still write your next chapter from the floor, as long as you're willing to rise again. He called Tasha the next morning. "Let's go again," he said. "No shortcuts. Just give me one clean stand. I don't need to walk. I just need to rise once." And on the morning of his wedding day, that chance finally came. The sun rose slow that Saturday, painting the Georgia sky in soft pinks and gold. It should have felt like any other wedding morning. Caterers buzzing, flower petals scattered, nervous laughter echoing in the church hallway. But for Jamal, this wasn't just the start of a marriage. This was the moment he'd been bleeding for, training for, believing in, even when no one else knew the weight he carried. Aaliyah looked radiant, dressed in ivory lace that kissed her skin like it had been made for her soul. She walked down the aisle with steady grace, not knowing that every step she took brought her closer to a secret that had nearly broken Jamal's body to keep. The chapel was full, but Jamal only saw her. His palms were sweating, heart pounding like the bass line of an old gospel song. Beneath his tailored slacks, the prosthetic itched against his thigh. He could feel the strap digging into scarred skin, but the pain wasn't what scared him. It was the moment the preacher would say it, the line Jamal had rehearsed over and over in his head. "Please rise." And then it came. The room stood, quietly, naturally. Everyone except Jamal. He could feel their eyes turned toward him, pitying, waiting, understanding. They didn't expect him to move, not after the accident, not after everything. But then, slowly, shakily, he placed both hands on the pew in front of him and pressed. Aaliyah turned just as he rose. Her bouquet dropped. He was standing. No cane, no wheelchair, just him, upright, trembling, but rising. Gasps rippled through the room like wind through trees. But Jamal only saw Aaliyah. Tears flooded her eyes before he even opened his mouth. And when she rushed forward, veil trailing behind her like wings, she whispered through sobs, "You kept this from me?" He nodded. "I wanted to surprise you. I wanted to give you more than words. I wanted to show you. I'm in this. All of me." And right there, surrounded by flowers, family, and raw disbelief, Aaliyah did something unexpected. She sat down, right there on the altar step, pulling Jamal gently to sit beside her. The guests murmured in confusion until she raised her voice. "Standing isn't what makes a man whole, but what he's willing to fight for. That's everything." Here's the twist. The real miracle wasn't Jamal standing. It was that he finally let himself be seen, fully, vulnerably, honestly. And Aaliyah? She didn't fall in love with the man who stood. She had already loved the man who couldn't. That wedding was never about proving strength. It was about surrendering pride in the name of partnership. And in that moment, Jamal learned, sometimes the bravest thing a man can do is show up exactly as he is. The applause that followed wasn't for a groom who stood. It was for a man who rose on the inside long before his body caught up. They exchanged vows, not just with rings, but with truth, with scars exposed, hearts open, and the weight of secrecy finally gone. And as they walked, yes, walked, down the aisle together, hand in hand, Jamal didn't feel broken. He felt reborn. When Jamal's wedding video went viral, the world saw a beautiful moment. A man in a wheelchair rising to his feet, defying odds on one of the most important days of his life. Hearts melted, shares exploded, and strangers called it a miracle. But what the internet didn't see, the part hidden beneath the headlines and the clips, was the aftershock that followed. Behind every viral moment is a quieter story, one wrapped in raw, unfiltered truth. For Jamal and Aaliyah, the journey didn't end with the standing ovation. It only began. After the wedding, Jamal faced a new challenge, the pressure to live up to that one perfect moment. Family and friends, inspired by the video, started treating him like a hero, an icon of strength and resilience. But Jamal knew the truth. Standing that day was not a finish line. It was a fragile victory, perched atop years of pain, countless falls, and ongoing battles with his own body. Every day, his nerves ached. The prosthetic still required hours of maintenance and adjustment. Sometimes his leg would buckle unexpectedly, leaving him vulnerable in front of strangers. And Aaliyah, she saw that too. The nights when Jamal hid his frustration, the moments he doubted if he could keep pretending to be okay. The internet only showed the highlight reel, not the therapy appointments, the tears and silence, the nights spent questioning if love was enough to carry them through the grind of disability. Here's the twist. The real strength wasn't in the viral clip, but in their willingness to stay after the camera stopped rolling, to face the everyday struggles without a script. Jamal and Aaliyah had to learn a new language, the language of patience, understanding, and humility. They discovered that love isn't about perfection or grand gestures. It's about showing up when the world isn't watching, when the pain resurfaces and the future feels uncertain. And the internet? It kept scrolling. But Jamal's lesson for us is clear. True courage isn't just standing up for a moment, choosing to rise again every single day, especially when no one's applauding. For those feeling unseen or overwhelmed by life's battles, Jamal's story reminds us that what truly matters isn't how many times you fall, but whether you find the strength to keep going after the world looks away. Love and pain, they're tangled up like the roots of an old tree, twisting, growing, and sometimes strangling everything around them. We watch stories like Jamal and Aaliyah's and think, wow, love conquers all. But what we often forget, buried beneath the grand moments, is that love also means carrying pain together, the raw, unspoken kind. Jamal's journey shows us this truth. Love isn't a spotlight shining on perfect days. It's the quiet hands that hold yours in the dark. It's the messy, uncomfortable work of showing up when everything hurts, when hope feels thin, and the world's weight presses down. Here's the real twist. Sometimes love asks us not to fix each other, but to see each other, even when it's ugly, exhausting, or inconvenient. To stand beside someone when they're breaking without needing to make it better. That's the kind of love that breaks cycles of loneliness and fear. And pain, it's no villain in this story. Pain is a fierce teacher, carving strength from the hardest places inside us. It humbles, it tests, but it also reveals who we truly are beneath all the noise. For those listening, especially if you've been hurt, betrayed, or left behind, remember this. Your scars aren't signs of weakness. They're maps of survival. They tell a story that only you can own. Jamal's story, like many before and after him, reminds us that our worth isn't measured by how we avoid pain or how high we rise in the spotlight. It's measured by the courage we show when we keep going, hand in hand with love, no matter how heavy the burden. So as you go about your day, holding your own battles close, ask yourself, who am I standing with today? And how am I letting love grow, even through the pain? Because the greatest victories don't always come with cheers. Sometimes they come in the quiet moments, when two souls choose to hold on and rise together. Thank you for listening to Jamal and Aaliyah's journey. May it inspire you to find strength in your own story, to love fiercely, and to never stop standing up.